Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas. And today I think I'm recording episode 216, 217. I never know for a fact, but something like that. And today I have with me Marty Schroeder, Vice President of Sales at Efinancial. Marty, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. And we are recording end of day on a Friday, at least end of day for me here in Eastern time. On a Friday. So thank you so much for coming on. Marty will be an interesting guest for us because Efinancial is a life side company, and 90% of what I do is P&C. The audience is probably mostly P&C, and 90% of what I know about insurance is P&C. So I know enough about life to be dangerous, not not as much as I know about P&C. Normally, what we do is give you first the chance to kind of give the elevator speech for Efinancial. So the microphone's yours.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I've been with Efinancial for 11 years now, and it's been a great place. We really operate like one big family. I just moved to Phoenix, Arizona area in August because we opened our third office here. And I decided I was done with winter, but we are in Chicago and the Seattle area, and then office number 3 is in Tempe, Arizona. We've been having a great year so far. The pandemic has actually helped to strengthen our business and really galvanize our people and rallying around offering protection products to people and giving people peace of mind during these uncertain times. And we're poised for a lot more growth in the future.
That is very interesting. So on the PNC side, what I've been hearing a lot is the business is okay, right? We're not downsizing. The effect has been controlled, minimal, compared to the rest of the economy. So what do you mean the pandemic has actually strengthened the company?
So Efinancial, we are a brokerage. So we have another company, it's our sister company called Fidelity Life Association. So they're the manufacturer of products and we're the distributor. Now we offer other carriers besides Fidelity Life, but we have a lot of integrations with Fidelity Life. Our business is, we frame it up as a controlled distribution model. And what we do with our agents, we supply them with the leads. We give them turnkey solutions with scripting and training and access to exclusive products. And that enables people to be successful in our model because of the unique, the full mosaic of resources that we provide to people. And we're in direct consumer life insurance is a little different than the traditional because you're having to create relationships and establish trust over a phone call and an email, and you're not dealing face to face like the traditional life insurance that got sold at the kitchen table. So you have to have a full understanding of a wide spectrum of different candidate risks when you're evaluating if somebody's going to qualify for a product. You need to be fully informed on how to do an adequate needs assessment because everybody's situation is unique. So we really invest a lot to make sure that the customer has a good experience with us, and we provide all the other tools that the agents need to be successful. And but we have these synergies between these two organizations that really allow us to offer a unique proposition to our customers.
Okay, so Fidelity Life is the life carrier. Efinancial, independent agency owned by Fidelity Life, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So on the life side, I actually spent a little bit of time on the life side. I don't talk about this often because it didn't go great. But my very first attempt at insurance, I got recruited, and I won't say their name because I didn't go well for me. But I got recruited. I was working in transportation, and I got recruited to sell life part time, and with the idea of eventually becoming full time. And they helped me get licensed, and then basically they weren't really offering an hourly wage or anything, or leads or training, or they basically got me licensed, gave me access to the office, and said good luck. A little bit of training, but not a lot. I was allowed to sell other products, but they didn't give me access to anybody else's products. Bought some leads, gave them a call. Called myself a financial advisor because they did give me a business card saying financial advisor. Got absolutely nowhere. Later on, after I came into PNC and fell in love with PNC, I read a lot that the survival rate of a like for the first 2 or 3 years for a life agent is something like 8%. So, which breaks my heart, right? Because anybody who we bring in who doesn't make it, they're never going to come back to insurance likely, and they'll badmouth us to some of their friends, and we won't be able to get them either, right? So it makes it hard for all of insurance to get people in when that happens.
I had a very similar entry into the industry.
Okay.
And it wasn't at eFinancial. So I was in direct-to-consumer mortgage lending, and as the whole economies of the world were imploding, I decided I wanted to move to an industry that had a little more safety to it. And so I went to, I won't reference the company, but similar, here's your office, here's your phone, good luck. And we'll give you a few leads to get started. And we'll give you a base salary for a few months, and then you're on your own. And then after I was on my own, it's, okay, I'm calling my mom. Hey, can I get you life insurance? Okay, honey. So I'm like, great, I'm gonna get my mom life insurance. I'll circle back on that story in a minute. Meanwhile, you have to, go out and continue to produce. And so I'd get a few random leads, and I'd have to get in my car and drive 200 miles. And I'm going down to Springfield, Illinois to meet with somebody, and then they cancel last minute on me. I'm like, oh, great. Gas was like $5 a gallon back then too. So I was getting really frustrated. Then I'm going on Facebook and reaching out to old college friends, and it's, I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, yeah, how's everything? How's your kid? Great. You got any life insurance? I'm like, Marty, we haven't talked in 5 years, and you're calling me to sell me life insurance? I'm like, uh-oh. So I realized real quick that I didn't want to have to, work through, my friends and family for business. Like I'm used to moving at a quick pace. And I also didn't want to be 24/7 on the job. I didn't want to have to, I'm in the middle of the Bears game and I got to take a business call. I wanted to be able to compartmentalize my work and my personal life. And if I was going to try to pursue the path that was laid out in front of me, I'd have to work through my friends and family and referral networks, and those take a long time to establish. So what happened, and I'm stuffing envelopes and dropping mailers and cold calling people in the Chicagoland area, just trying to drum up some business. And I was trained for life and health, but I also had my securities license. I was selling disability. I was trying to do 401k rollers, trying to do everything, which means you don't do anything well. So finally I was frustrated. I'm like, I got to go buy some online internet leads. But I'm like, but I know there's a lot of crap out there, and I got to make sure I don't, pay a bunch of money for a bunch of bogus leads. So I call this, go to this abcleads.com or whatever it was, and I get a call instantly, and the person on the phone's walking me through. And when I'm selling life insurance in my old days, it was, how old are you, and do you smoke, and what's your height and weight, and this is what your rate is. Now I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and they're drilling into, what are my cholesterol levels, and do I do any foreign travel, and family history of this, and driving record that, and all these things where I'm going, and they called me in a nanosecond. I go, I can't compete with that. How can I buy leads and be like, hey, I'll get you a good deal. What's your height and weight? And this person's really drilling into all these specific health conditions. And so quickly I realized that I was going to be, out of my league if I'm going to compete with that. Long story short, that company I talked to was eFinancial, and it turned out months later that I ended up at eFinancial serendipitously. But that really made me realize that I can't do this on my own. I need to be with a reputable firm that's going to provide me the resources to be successful. And licking envelopes and calling old friends out of the blue and trying to get my mom coverage was not going to be a sustainable income for me.
So the financial model, you called it controlled distribution model.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it's direct to consumer rather than in person. So even outside of COVID, it's 100% on the phone. Okay.
Everything's on the phone or over email. Correct.
Okay. So for the audience, the way we connected for this podcast, a very good friend of mine, former colleague of mine, Evie, called me and basically said, this is a perfect job for millennials. I know you're big among millennials. Send them my way. And I was very, very skeptical. And whenever people call me for career advice to chat with Tony, when they say sell life, I get very, very skeptical. So why is eFinancial a good place to start your insurance sales career?
So first, it's all of the resources and support that we invest in people. We want people to be successful. We actually pay for our agents' licensing. So when I had to get my own license on my own, that was money out of my pocket. I had to study. I had to, and then that's just for an Illinois license. If you want to do nationwide, it adds up. It's thousands of dollars. So we're going to make that commitment to people. And if we're going to do that, we need them to be successful. So we have several online training modules. We have sales management support and all kinds of resources to make people successful. But part of the reason why we are successful is, one, we take that prospecting out of it. And if I go back to, well, let me rewind, and I'm in 2009 and I'm desperate for business, and I'm going, well, I got an idea. I'm going to take my laptop and I'm going to go to well, today it would be, I'm going to go to a COVID testing facility and say, hey, before you get tested for COVID-19, get life insurance, or a dialysis clinic, or do something that would, the insurance companies are always guarded against adverse selection. And so in what I learned early was that there was a lot of, it was a little bit of a wild, wild west, where it was, bring an application out and there's sign here stickers, and it wasn't, we're not going to go through and thoroughly complete this application. It was, let's just throw it against the wall and see if you get through underwriting. So a lot of agents out there are trying to exploit loopholes in underwriting, and the carriers have to defend against that. So what we do at the carrier level is we say, our leads are coming through, we're procuring the leads through our means of acquiring leads. We work on a system where your phone calls are recorded. All of your communication is monitored. So if you talk to somebody and they say, well, Tony, you told me you smoke cigarettes, and that means your life insurance rate's going to be double. And you say, well, Marty, just put me down as a non-smoker, wink, wink. In the old days, I could be like, no problemo. Today, it's no, because this call is recorded. This is my license on the line too. So we put a high value in people who have integrity, because we operate in a fiduciary responsibility where we are providing business for the life company. And if we're putting bad risk on the books, then that's going to hurt the financial performance. So part of our model is we're bringing in leads, we're doing business the right way. Everything's going to be monitored and on the up and up. And we stand behind our business practices. And so that really resonated with me, because in mortgage lending, I felt like I was guilty by association of doing unethical business. And I certainly was not, but I saw people doing it left and right, and it didn't sit well with me. And that's why I wanted to go into insurance. I wanted to sell products that I was proud of and do it in a professional manner that was sustainable for a long career.
We'll definitely dig a little bit into the products. I always like to be careful with the lingo. We do have a lot of listeners who are kind of new to the industry. So for the new listeners, adverse selection is a beautiful concept within insurance. It basically means that people who are bad risks are more likely to give us a call for insurance, and people who are great risks are less likely. So we in every side of insurance, we always have to be careful with who comes to us and properly assessing their risks. So basically, somebody starts with Efinancial. They've never done insurance before. You teach them life insurance. You teach them how to sell. You continually give them leads. They don't have to buy their own leads, and you're paying them a salary while they're trying out this career. And not only they also the other big problem. So I think that new agents or young agents or new agents have two big problems other than understanding the product. Number one is getting in front of people, or buying the leads or whatever, like getting somebody that they can try to sell to. And number two, lack of access to markets. Right. So yeah, I got you on the phone, but I'm a State Farm exclusive, and you're not a good risk for State Farm. We're not price competitive for you. And all my effort, all that lead that I paid for or whatever, wasted because I can't help you, right? So while if you're an independent company, then you have access to a bunch of markets. So that piece is not a problem. So that's really good. What's the survival rate? So for like a new agent?
It's definitely not single digits.
Much better than industry average.
Yeah. So we have our our turnover rate is in the single digits. So most people will make it in our model. Now that is because we have a thorough screening process up front. We look for candidates that possess the right skills that are going to translate into our model. But we tend to have more successful people that are not licensed. As I mentioned, we will provide the means to put them through the licensing course. But if we hire 100 people at the beginning of the year, I would say we'll probably have 70 of them by the end of the year. And of the ones that we lose a lot of them in the first 30 days. And some of this is because we take chances on people that, hey, maybe they interviewed well and they took the job, but it wasn't a right fit for them. They didn't like working in a call center. They didn't want to do a telesales. Maybe they couldn't get licensed. The licensing process, and we license people nationwide. So there's issues maybe that people have in their backgrounds where some states are going to be more stringent than others. And so that might come up where somebody can't get licensed. And it's also not, you can't just, not prepare for the license exam. You have to put some effort into it too. So that's really for us a test of somebody's how determined they are to be successful. Are they going to put in the time to study? And if they can't get licensed, we provide a salary, but our agents are not living large on their salary. The salary is enough to you can pay your bills, your rent, and your car payment, but you're not going to be it's not a six-figure salary. But I'm not apologizing for it because it's enough to get people started, and they can start making respectable income and be on a six-figure pace certainly within 6 months of employment.
Within 6 months. So basically, while the base is not six figures, which
our base is 30,000, but there's overtime, there's benefits and things like that too.
So a significant percentage of people that start, let's say 20%, 25%, end up breaking six figures their first year.
So let me just make sure I'm being honest. Six-figure pace, which let's say 100,000 divided by 12 is $8,300 a month. Absolutely, within 6 months, those earnings are possible.
So basically, if I start in January, by December, there's a fair chance that I'm running at the rate that will result in 100,000 a year.
Chances are by December, your year to date would be, say 75, 80K, and you might have made, say 20 in the first half of the year and 50 in the second half of the year, because we have different stages in our agent progression where the deeper you advance, the higher income opportunities that you're going to be exposed to.
That's pretty awesome. You're right. I'm biased, and I'm a huge proponent of carrier side PNC work, and I spend a lot of time guiding people towards PNC. There's no opportunity within PNC that's going to put you at 100K on your second year coming in without any sort of so that's impressive. Even if it's just a few people, right? Like, I'm not expecting that 80% of new hires will do that, but if it can be done more than by like the 1 in 1,000, that's pretty impressive. That's
There's
pretty good.
A significant percentage of our producers that are tracking in that range, and so it's not a fluke. It's not I got one big case. It's if you bring the skills and the determination, the hard work, and this is where we provide that constant coaching, where you're going to fail. We expect you to fail. If you don't fail, you're cheating. But what we want is you got to learn from those mistakes and understand the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 diabetic when you're quoting somebody, and the difference between scuba diving at 40 feet versus 100 feet. That has a world of difference on the product that the customer is going to qualify for. So we have several tools and resources to help provide that information so that we can place the customer in the right product. But the ones that are upselling and taking advantage of their opportunities, and hey, Tony, do you have a spouse? Can we get coverage for them too? That's opportunity to make money, and some people don't capitalize on all their opportunities. Those that do, they can get quick footing here and make a really good living here.
The more that you talk about underwriting guidelines, the more that I'm realizing I'm a bad life insurance risk. I don't smoke, I never have, but we travel a lot. I've been to 70 some countries. We scuba dive.
Okay.
I'm in the process of getting my private pilot's license.
Ooh.
And I don't exercise at all. So anyway,
well, that private pilot one is going to be but at the point where you can afford your own plane, you can afford the expensive insurance.
I definitely can't afford my own plane yet, but I can afford to get the license and to rent a plane every once in a while. So anyway, it was just funny, just made me think of it. So speaking of the products, millennials I want to do good for the world while being able to pay my student loans and do well for myself, a generation. And Gen Zers a little bit less, but yeah. And so for either of the new generations joining the workforce that I spend a lot of time helping, and that I'm guessing listen to a podcast a good bit. The number one selling aspect that I used to convince them to come or stay within insurance is that we're doing good for the world, and I can make a really good case for PNC. In life, I can make a really good case for term. So basically, term is very affordable and it provides you protection for X number of years at a guaranteed cost. And if you don't die during that time, you get nothing for your money. But if you do, then your dependents get a lot more money than they would have if you had bought whole or any other. So I've never been able to get my head around whole and like the kinds of policies that build value over time. And what I mean by that is it seems that most life companies really push their salespeople to sell whole life and other value building life products. And the perception out there, this is where I'm trying to get to. The perception out there is that the only way to make money selling life insurance is to sell whole, etc.
Yeah.
So are you guys mostly whole? Are you mostly term? How would you?
Glad we brought this subject up. My first experience with life insurance was when I got life insurance, and I was in my 20s, and I met with somebody at a large agency and was told I needed to buy this product because I can retire when I'm 40 and it's going to grow exponentially, tax-free, and everything's going to be glorious. And I didn't really realize what I was doing. And somebody in their 20s shouldn't be spending $400 a month on life insurance. And I realized this years later, and I canceled the policy. And then when I got my surrender value back, I'm like, well, where's the other half? I'm like, oh, that was an expensive lesson. So we specialize in protection products. We don't do accumulation products. So when we get people that say, well, I have my Series 6 and Series 7, I like to sell variable universal life products. Those are complex financial instruments that are really great for estate planning, for businesses and things of that nature. It's really not the best thing for an everyday consumer. And so with Efinancial, we have a middle market focus. Which is we sell term, we sell final expense policies, accidental death, but we do not sell out of our sales last year or this year, call it 50 million or so. It's going to be like 4 figures worth of accumulation products. It is 99.999% protection products. And our average premium on the products that we sell is more in the $50 a month range. And for some people it's $12 a month. Term is affordable. It's sound protection if somebody has children or debt that you need to protect. But we don't sell hey, you're gonna retire on this, and I'm gonna give you this indexed fund or this this fancy variable universal life policy or cash accumulation. We don't sell any of those products. Zero, except for that 0.001%, and those are usually somebody wants to convert their policy, and maybe they meet that criteria of a business owner or a high net worth person.
You're the first life person ever that I've heard admit that term is the best fit for the great majority of people. So for the listeners, basically, you can dig a lot deeper into it. But at this point, I can pretty much guarantee, I can pretty much put my seal of approval on the fact that you'll be selling products that truly help people, and that really fit the need of what people need. And 80-some%, you probably know this number better than I do, but what I've heard is 80-some% of Americans are underinsured for life. So it really, you are filling a need that most people have, and that they're sorely underinsured, or they're carrying the wrong type of insurance, which means that they're paying $250 a month for a lot less coverage.
Well, and the other thing that this misnomer comes from, and when I had my first stint in life insurance outside of Efinancial, I don't know, 3 or 4 leads that I got to get started, they would be policy reviews. And I go out and schedule an appointment, go to the customer's home and review the policy. And I sat and reviewed a policy with somebody, and I had to inform her that her policy was lapsing after 2 months. And she says, well, what are you talking about? I was told that this was whole life and I would be set forever and I never have to pay a thing again. Well, the policy had, at the time that she was sold that policy in 1981 or whatever, interest rates were probably 14-15%, and it's pretty easy to show exponential growth, and you're gonna cash this thing out for $1 million. Well, when interest rates go, what are they at, like 0 now? There's not a lot of growth inside those policies, and the cost of insurance continues to increase every year. So it was really a heartbreaking conversation to inform somebody, you think you have life insurance and you don't. And then I'm out here almost on a sales call, and I'm trying to look at it more of a service call. And I had to pretty much inform her that, yeah, your policy's running out and you got to get a new one. And she couldn't afford it because at this time now she was in her mid 70s, and she was really uninsurable. So I think when the interest rate environment was so much different, that fueled a lot of the earnings inside the policies. But we've been in a low interest rate environment for forever now.
Yeah, 15, 20 years, something like that, or more. Like, it's been a very long time. Okay, so what kind of people are successfully in your model? So coachable, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What else?
Outgoing. So as I mentioned, we license people in a couple of dozen states. So somebody who is very personable will have success. It's really about making connections with people, establishing that trust, and then getting them comfortable and knowing the products and how to make an astute recommendation for the proper type of coverage. But you're going to talk to the hotshot New Yorker, who's in his 40s, who's like, I got 2 minutes, what do you got? And then you're going to talk to the old lady sipping lemonade in Alabama on her porch, and then the California guy who's out surfing, and you have to have almost like a chameleon-like personality to be able to connect with people from all walks of life, because the way that we assign our leads is on a random basis. And so you might get a 36-year-old on one call and a 42-year-old on the next call, maybe somebody who runs their own business on one, somebody who's retired on another, and you have to have those conversational skills and be able to relate to people and be a good listener and have empathy. People are going to open up about their sensitive information about their history, their health conditions, their financial situation. And if somebody tells you that, oh, are you married? Well, no, my wife passed away, 2 months ago. Okay, so how much money do you make? Oh, no, time out. It's like, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's horrible, and my condolences. And so if you have empathy and you're compassionate, we have conversations with people to understand what their needs are. We say scripted guidance. It is not a robotic script where, okay, Tony, have you used any form of tobacco or nicotine? It's like, tell me about your smoking history. Have you used any form of tobacco? Not even a cigar, and we really try to make it so that people can have an honest conversation, because we're ultimately trying to do what's right for them and do good, honest business.
I like that the scripts are not scripts, are not mandated, enforced scripts. My first job in insurance was at the Farm Bureau of Iowa call center, claims call center. Claims would come in, and the way they managed that call center made a huge difference in my insurance career. That's why I'm still here. Basically, they did such a great job, and part of it was that they allowed me to be human on the phone, and to have the conversation, listen to them, apply empathy. Make sure you get the information that we need for so that the adjuster can start working on the claim. But it wasn't like super structured. You can let the conversation go where it needs to go, and I very much enjoyed it, even though it was a call center. So what about so I come in, right, young kid right out of college or quit college halfway. I'm assuming college degree is not necessary as long as I can pass the background checks and stuff.
Some of my best producers don't have one.
Okay, so the charismatic people loves chatting with people, comes in, they're 20, 21, whatever. They do it for a while, they're making good money. Is there a path beyond that first level of sales? Like right, I'm making enough money, but
sure,
do I want to work the call center forever? Are there other paths within the company or even beyond the company that I'll be a great match for?
Absolutely. So, well, you could come in as an agent and ascend all the way to the senior vice president of sales if you play your cards right. But just today, I opened up a couple different roles. We have a workforce management team. In our whole company, we have marketing and IT and finance and all these different areas of the business, and our sales organization ends up being the feeder pool for the rest of our organization. I have people over the company that started their career in sales, and I have some that went into underwriting, some that have gone into customer support, some that have gone into claims. I got somebody who's in the special investigations unit, and so we really look to intake talent, and we're going to put people in a position to be successful and also support their ambitions. If they say, you know what, this is an entry-level role, but ultimately I want to learn how to be an underwriter, we'll support that. Or I want to get into digital marketing and in other avenues of the business. So there is that path. There's what we don't really have at this point is the migration into an independent channel. Back to the products that we offer in our model and the way that we source our leads. We're not looking at this point to have somebody build little agencies beneath them. We might change that strategy in the future. But what we've also done is we've enabled work from home now for all of our agents. Yet we have an outstanding site. Our offices, people want to come into the office. It's alive and electric there, and we have all kinds of fun perks. It's a great place to work. But we've seen, over the years, there's not a lot of, there's some people that we lose and go, that one hurt because they never reached their full potential. But we have a lot of people that their careers just blossom under us. And if somebody ultimately leaves, I have somebody who's he's on the Mount Rushmore of our historic producers, and he's going to start back again in January. He left a couple of years ago. He said, I want to get into group benefits. I want to try, getting into something different. And we supported him, and hey man, thanks for 10 great years. You've been the standard bearer for us. And he just called me out of the blue, and he's like, I think I want to come back. Because there's that stability that we provide and that structure and that camaraderie, and people really feel that they're part of a big family here and something special. And it's hard to replicate that if you're out on your own.
I love the fact that there is some flow of people to the mother company, to the carrier. That's because agency work is not for everybody, and so that's really cool. You supporting them to go into the underwriting space. Underwriting life is a fantastic job. I was very surprised, and I don't know how familiar you are, but I never realized that life companies had SIU departments. So SIU is the special investigative unit, super important in P&C. But in life, I always assumed that like death certificate and the policy's been active for over 2 years if it was a suicide, and we just pay. So that's very interesting. I don't know how much you can talk about the SIU space, but just knowing you learn something every day in this industry. Today I learned that life insurance companies have SIU. If somebody's listening and you're SIU in a life insurance company, I want you on the podcast.
Well, Tony, we do have a high volume of business, yeah, and there are some bad actors out there, and it's the company has to protect itself. But
okay, very very interesting. And the work from home piece, I mean, makes perfect sense right now in the COVID world. But are you expecting that post-COVID you'll have significant work from home opportunities open kind of
we
going
are
forward?
actually we've so what we're really doing is bolstering our resources to make people have more tools to be successful in a virtual environment. One of the things that working remote enables people to do is one, you don't have to commute, but because we're dealing with people all across the nation in different time zones, if you're working a standard 8 to 5 shift and you're talking to somebody that says, call me at 7, well, I leave the office at 5. So how about I call you tomorrow? Yeah, sure, whatever. And then you play phone tag for a week and you're not very efficient. So, allowing the work from home is going to really enable us to get a lot more efficiencies. And, we're seeing people aren't using their PTO because, hey, I have a doctor's appointment today. I don't have to take a day off of work. I just need to, be off for 2 hours. And or I got my parent-teacher conferences today, and I can work half a day. So it's really enabled us to pick up a lot more of efficiencies. And people, when we hire for is people that are going to be self-starters and have some autonomy to their job. We really want to promote an entrepreneurial spirit. We have, that's why there's high income earning potential. And so it's not like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, people, there's a stampede towards the door. It's like, no, I'm making some good money today. I want to take another call, and I'm hot, and you get that sales mojo going. It's palpable when you see it, but it's not as easy to replicate virtually, because what we're learning is that when we're in the office, people get, I call it osmosis learning. So we're still going to support you with your sales manager. Absolutely. And give you coaching and break down your calls and go through it. Hey, you misquoted this person because they take 2 medications for their blood pressure and not 1. But that's one-on-one with your sales manager. When you're in the office, you got a neighbor right next to you and say, hey, 2 blood pressure medications, can I get preferred? And instead, it's like, hey, manager, are you there? And Andrew might be there, but you pick up when you overhear somebody else overcome an objection or offer a different product structure, and all that secondhand learning is really valuable. So we are offering remote opportunities. We're encouraging people to be on site. Our offices, we just installed plexiglass, and you got to do a scan electronic code and do a health assessment when you come in, and wear masks. And but for obviously people, it's we put people first, and we're not going to compromise people's safety, and we'll provide them the opportunity remotely. It's just they're going to be it's going to behoove their development in their early stages of their career to be on site, because
I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, I would just off the top of my head, for a sales type role, I would think that it especially something hard to sell like life. I think that it would make best sense to I need you. If you're in the office the first 6 months, and as your numbers skyrocket, and you're definitely getting it, then I'm more and more comfortable with you being home. And eventually, right, if you're at the 100K a year run rate, I don't care. Like, I don't ever need to see you if you're at that run rate, right? I do think that
yes and no. We want those people in the office because they add to the culture. We want other people to learn from them too. So that's the catch-22, because I hear like, well, do you just, all the struggling people, do you want them in the office and all the good people stay? I'm like, no, I want my all-stars in the office.
Exactly. The learning by osmosis.
But they want to be in there too. And they know that I have fewer interruptions when I'm in the office. I'm all business. Here, it's like, oh, I have, lawnmower outside, my phone's ringing, and somebody's at the door, and I don't have any children, but I can't imagine somebody trying to work from home if they have kids or pets.
Oh, I can't. With kids, I can't imagine. Yeah. That's awesome. And earlier you talked about there's no path to the indie channel. So first of all, thank you for the honesty on that. And number 2, my opinion is that's not a negative. And what I mean by that, so my understanding, right, for the listeners, and correct me if I'm wrong, but on the life side, there is a lot of like pyramid type structures where an agent in some companies and in some settings can make more money recruiting people to sell for him or her and getting a cut of everybody's sales than they can actually selling the product. And those organizations, from what I hear from people that have gone through them, end up becoming a little scummy, a little and end up becoming a little yucky. I don't know how to describe it. Like the standards kind of go down, and if too large a percentage of your company is making their money from recruiting other people to sell rather than actually selling, you just lose a lot. So I kind of like the fact that you're not. I think they're called general agents in the life space. I'm kind of glad that you don't have general agents.
Yeah, and I've been recruited, several times too, and they call it, you referenced a pyramid for a reason, the old pyramid scheme. And in what we really invest all of our energies into producing high performing agents. And if you dilute your talent in that way, then you're not going to be able to have that type of high performance. And when we're out procuring leads are expensive. These are not cheap. You need to convert and execute, and you need to do business the right way. If you spend time with a customer and you mislead them about a product and then they cancel, you forego your commission. That's a lot of wasted time. So, but we also have a reputation to protect. And that's, again, we're trying to make sure that customers are confident working with Efinancial and Fidelity Life, and we go out and protect the brand. And that's really part of that strategy, is to make sure that we're channeling all of those resources to get that type of protection.
I like it. I really, really like it. And by the way, for the listeners, we chatted for like 10 minutes before recording, mostly about kind of his career history. And I had not asked whether they're a what's it called, a whole life company or a I really did. What I'm saying is I liked your answers, and we had no way to prepare to know that your answers would be kind of the type that I like. So anyway, it's been great to have you. I'll include a link to the company's website on the show notes. If people are interested in checking out the potential of starting their sales career with you guys, what's the way to get started?
Efinancial.com, and there's a career page which showcases all the opportunities that we have. We're hiring in all 3 offices, and it's we're growing, and we're having a great year, and we've got an exciting future ahead of us, and we're welcoming all top-notch talent that's looking for a place to. And we have people that start their careers, we have people that revive their careers, and so we see most success with people that are just struggling because they don't have the right support system, the right coaching, or the right leads. Prospecting is probably the hardest part of the insurance business. We don't do prospecting. You are not going to call your old friends from college and say, "What's up? Want life insurance?" and we're gonna teach people and invest in them to be successful and have a long, lucrative career.
Fantastic. The 3 offices: Phoenix, Arizona, Chicago, Illinois, and Seattle. Okay, so for now, you do have to live near one of those at least to get started.
Correct.
Okay.
For now.
Perfect.
World's changing quickly, Tony.
I love it. It kind of sounds like you guys have reinvented life sales in a way that makes sense for today, and that makes sense for the talent that is coming into the workforce today, and the talent that like me, who have 10 years of career experience. I love it. Thank you so much for joining, and maybe at some point we'll have you back to talk about the growth of the company and the awesome employees that you found who came from listening to the podcast episode.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.